friends, it's Frugal Green Girl again, and thanks for joining me. You know, actually around here it's flea season, unfortunately, and while we don't normally have this problem, this year we did end up with just a brief, time period when there was a couple of fleas around on our pets. And so I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk to you about some all-natural and inexpensive ways that you can deal with fleas on your pets. Many of the traditional methods for dealing with pets involve chemicals, and I'm personally not a fan of them for several reasons. One, even though they say they're safe, when you look into the chemicals that are actually in them, many of them are linked to problems like cancer and things like that. And we obviously love our pets. We want to do what's best for them, so we don't want them to be uncomfortable from all the fleas, but we also, in my opinion, don't want to be dosing them with a bunch of chemicals that could potentially harm them also. And since there's lots of natural remedies to help deal with this without having to use the chemicals, it's a good alternative, And then the other reason I'm really not a fan of them is because they're really expensive. I mean, there was an ad in the major local retailer, the biggest retailer in the world, don't want to say their name, but there was one of their circular ads, and so there was several different types, because it is flea season. They were advertising their flea remedies, and some of them were like $40, some of them were like $50. It was really expensive. I mean, most of them were really $30 to $40, I would say, was the typical amount for the ones with the chemicals, which is just, it's crazy. Costs a lot of money to dose your pets with all those chemicals, and so I don't understand that. But anyway, so here I am. I would like to just tell you a little bit about fleas before we go on to our treatment options. Basically, fleas are blood-sucking insects that lay eggs. So they get on your pet, various ways that they can get on your pet. Two main ways would be from other animals. Say you adopt a new pet, or one of your pets go outside and the other one stays inside, and then both of them end up getting it. So one of the animals will actually get the fleas and then they'll spread them around. Or another common way for them to get them is from outside. Fleas need hot, humid and cool areas to live. And so they frequently will just hang out under trees, in mulch, in the leaves, things like that, next to the ground where it's moist and cool. And so when your pet goes outside, and it's hot out there, so they want a nice cool place to lay down, they'll lay down in those leaves, and then the fleas are like, oh, it's exactly what we've been waiting for, and then they'll get on your pet, and then next thing you know, you've got a flea problem. So that's the two main ways that, your cats or dogs will get the fleas, is from outside or other pets. They're kind of like lice. Like in people, they little bugs that, suck blood and lay eggs. They're really kind of gross, so hopefully I won't gross you out here, but they'll get on your pet, they'll drink their blood, they'll, mate and reproduce, they'll lay eggs, and then the new ones will hatch. They'll, drink your cat's blood, a cat or dog, your pet's blood, and then they'll lay eggs and so on. And so just a few fleas can multiply and become a lot of fleas in a really short amount of time, which is kind of scary. So that's why when you first notice the problem, it's important to attack it right away. That way we can make sure we get rid of the fleas before they actually have a chance to start taking over. And unlike head lice, though, well, actually head lice have a chance to live off of the body too. They can live outside of your pet, so they can, go on your pet, and then they can go in your carpet and hang out there, or the cat's bed and things like that. And so when you're treating them, you don't want to just treat the animal, you want to treat other places too, but we'll go over those, different treatment options. So what they actually look like is tiny little black brownish bugs with long back legs. They're pretty small. If you have trouble seeing things that are small, it might be hard to tell, but they're just these tiny little bugs that you can tell because they'll be crawling around in your pet's fur and things like that. And one of the signs is that your pet will be itching more than normal. They like to be around the ears and stuff, so your cat will do that thing where it itches, in that neck ear section or other places, or be biting and scratching at themselves more often than normal. And then when you actually go to look, you can either see their eggs, which are the little round white, more of an oval actually, little oval shaped white things, or the actual fleas themselves kind of hanging out in their fur. They're fast, so when you go to pick through their fur, it can be a little bit hard to get them. So so the treatment options, there's obviously the pet, like I said earlier, and then there's the places where the pets are. So we'll just talk about the pets first. So if you have a dog, one of the most common ways to get rid of the fleas is to give them a bath. Fleas die, thankfully, they die in soap. So there's lots of different flea stuff out there that'll, they're designed for you to add to the bath water for your pet and stuff like that. But you really don't need that because regular soap will kill them. So you can just take any kind of type of natural soap or even dish soap. That can be a little bit drying on the skin for them, but it should be okay. You're not going to be doing it for that long anyway. So you actually start with their head and get it on there. So then when you get the dog in the water itself, then when they try to go up to the head, it's already there. Because they will. Once you get them in the water, the fleas will start crawling up and then they'll all go under the head to get away from where the water is, where the soap is. So that's why you want to start with the head and then do the rest of the body. Get the soap water all over the whole pet, and this will kill the adult fleas. And then, of course, rinse it off and everything like that. And you can do this regularly, every week or so if you notice you have a flea problem, so that when they hatch and they become adults, you can keep, killing the adults before they have a chance to actually build up to be a lot like I mentioned earlier. Some people do go ahead and give their cats a bath, but my cat is like my best friend and I didn't want him to hate me, so I didn't find this to be the best option for me. Plus, cats have claws, and they'll attack you if you try to give them a bath. If it's a cat that doesn't like water, they will just be horrified, and they will be so mad at you for so long. They'll forgive you. Pets always do. They're good about forgiving, but still, I don't want to have to do that to them, so that's not the option I did. I honestly think baths are better for dogs and cats. It's a better way to take care of them with just a flea comb. This is what I used on my cats. I got this on Amazon. It was just over $6 and I really like this thing. It has really close together teeth so that it catches the fleas, and then it has 2 rows of teeth. I don't know if you can see that. 2 rows of teeth there so that they get caught in between. So I'll leave a link in the description box below for this one, because there's several that are the same price that only have 1 row of teeth. This one I think is better because it's the same price and it has 2 rows of teeth, and it works much better. It's going to get fleas that the other combs would leave behind. No, I'm not affiliated with the company. I just tried it out, and this is the one I found was the best. So I really liked this. This is what I chose to use on my cats. They like to be brushed anyway, so it was kind of like a treat for them, and then you would just brush it, and then because the soap kills the fleas, you could have a bowl of water sitting off to the side, and then you pick the fur and stuff out of this and you dunk it in the water so that any fleas or eggs or anything like that would go into that soap water and they would die instead of hopping off and coming back on the cat later on. So you'll definitely want to have that close by. And if you have a long-haired pet, because I have 2 cats, one is just a regular short-haired cat, and then I have a long-haired cat. I'm pretty good about keeping up on his mats so he doesn't get matted fur too bad. But he does get them in a few spots, occasionally. If they have that, make sure you brush those out or cut them out first. Otherwise, it's just going to hurt them and they're not going to like the flea comb. And you want them to like the flea comb so you can keep doing it regularly. And even though we've taken care of our flea problem now, I intend to keep using this just because if one got on them, I want to make sure I find it right away. And it's also good at helping to comb out the eggs. The eggs, unlike regular people lice, don't stick in their fur. They'll fall out easily. So this will help get out both the adults and the eggs all in one thing. And this has no chemicals in it at all. So it's inexpensive, it's reusable, and chemical free. What's not to like about it? I really enjoy this. And it's good for both cats and dogs. Although it's a little small, so if you have a big dog, it may take a long time for you to get through their fur, but it works. And then the next thing that I did with my cats, is I used some essential oil on their collar. Now I know some of the people out there are probably saying, but essential oils aren't okay for cats. Obviously I'm not going to recommend this if you don't, agree with putting essential oils on your cats. I did some research and I did find one that I felt was acceptable, and I used just 1 drop on their collar once a week. That's all. And it's lavender. That's the one that I would recommend for cats. Many other ones, cats have trouble metabolizing different essential oils, so it's best to make sure the essential oil you're going to use is safe. And so that's the one that I used. I had no problems with it. I don't have a problem with putting that one on my cats. There are other ones that you can use if you want to put them on your dog's flea collar. Well, making your own flea collar by putting essential oil on their actual collar. You can use eucalyptus, tea tree, lemon, or geranium. Again, don't use any of these 4 on cats, but those are other ones in addition to the lavender that you can use on your cat. So if you have any of those, just use one of those. Put a, for a dog, maybe a few drops around on their collar to help keep the fleas away. And this is really effective because it's one of the 2 areas that the fleas like the most is up in the neck area. So having it right up in their neck is actually really good, really effective at helping to keep them away, drive them away. So that was my 3rd thing that I would recommend for the treatment on your actual pet. And so now let's move on to the second portion of it, and that's helping to deal with your house itself. Because obviously, like I mentioned earlier, the fleas can get out and away, and they can get in your carpet and things like that. So the first thing I would recommend is washing their bedding. If you have some kind of a little cat bed or something like that that can be easily thrown in the washer, definitely do so. The soap from the washer and the heat from the dryer both kill the fleas, and so it's, a double good thing. If you can't wash them, then it can be effective to just throw whatever it is in the dryer for 15-20 minutes, and then that heat can kill them also. So if you would prefer to do that, you could do that as well. Vacuum everywhere. Vacuum your floors, vacuum your furniture, vacuum frequent places where they sleep, if it's your couch and things like that. Vacuum, vacuum, vacuum. And make sure you empty the thing, the vacuum either bag or the canister, depending on what type of vacuum you have, frequently so that they don't just end up crawling back out of the vacuum and back into the carpet. So that's another thing. That one was the essential oil, the comb, and the vacuuming is my 3 favorite ways to help deal with the fleas. Those 3 alone will be extremely effective at helping to keep them from spreading and from, reproducing and taking over your house. The next thing I would recommend is if you have carpet and you're going to be vacuuming it, baking soda kills them. So, it's just like that homemade cleaner that I made earlier. A really effective one would be baking soda with lavender in it to make your own carpet powder. But just if you don't want to use the lavender, you can just put the baking soda in the carpet, leave it for a while, even use a broom to kind of grind it down into the carpet first, and then vacuum it all back up out of the carpet. And this will help kill any that are in there. This causes them to dehydrate and die, so it's really effective, and again, it's chemical free. And where I live, I can get a big fat box of baking soda for 54 cents, so it's super cheap too, so really helps. The next thing I would recommend is a vinegar water spray. Now make sure you use 1 part vinegar, 3 parts water, otherwise it can be too strong. But then this is another effective way after I would, vacuum my couch here and things like that, because my pets do like to sleep here. I would go ahead and just spray everything, their bedding stuff, things that I couldn't wash. They have this little cat tree thing. I can't put it in the washer or the dryer. So vacuuming it out really good and then spraying it with this vinegar solution. The vinegar helps to kill them also. So this is another inexpensive way. Most people already have white vinegar in their houses. It's really cheap to buy, really easy to make just by putting it in a spray bottle and spraying it all over. Yes, it is a little bit strong smelling. However, it takes just a few minutes and it, airs out with no problem at all. And it doesn't, stain or lighten fabrics or anything like that. So you don't have to worry about it bleaching your couch. Okay, and then the last, actually 2 more things. The other thing I would recommend with the house would be to ventilate it in case you have high humidities. Like I mentioned earlier, they really need high humidities. So in areas like we have in Colorado, our humidities are usually very low, which is why flea season is only in the spring. If you actually open the windows after you've made pasta or boiled water, take a shower, things like that, things that would add to the humidity inside of your house to make it so that your house is less likely to become a flea breeding ground, you could just open the windows and ventilate everything. That way you can make sure that you are keeping the humidity down low enough so that you can make it to where they can't survive. If the humidity goes below 50% where they are, they basically dry out and die, just like, with the baking soda and things like that. So ventilating your house to make sure you don't get too high of humidity can also be a effective way at helping to keep them down. If you live in an area where there's high humidities and opening the windows isn't going to help because it's just as humid out there as it is in here, in your house, then you can use a dehumidifier to help keep that humidity low so that it won't be too, high humidity to make it so they're not so happy to be in there. And then the last Last recommendation, I really wanted to try. I'm not too disappointed that I didn't because my flea problem went away so fast. Once I started vacuuming and using the vinegar and, you know, all this stuff, cleaning frequently, daily, and then combing my cats, the fleas stopped immediately. It took me about half of a week and I didn't see a single another one after that, and I haven't seen them since. So they were really easy to get rid of for me. But what I was going to try, if I was going to continue to have to fight them, is a flea trap. They like light, like many other bugs. Like a bug zapper attracts bugs and it zaps them. Well, this is kind of similar in that it has a light and then it has either a sticky trap underneath or a bowl of water. So I didn't get a chance to make one. They have some online, but that's the basic concept. If you can finagle something, you know, I'm kind of... I don't know how to say it, a tinkerer. I like to make things, so that's why I was kind of disappointed I didn't get to make it, but who knows, if I ever get fleas again, I'll definitely try it. But anyway, so I don't have one to recommend on how to actually make one, but again, they're not too expensive online. This is probably the most expensive thing on this list of ways to get rid of them, but if you live in an area where it's, you know, gonna be common for them to keep coming back, you know, and things like that, you really have a lot of them. Like I said, here where I live in Colorado, we don't have too big of a problem with them. And the flea season is very short, and they weren't hard to get rid of, so it wouldn't really work for us anyway. But if you want to, you can try that. Set out sticky traps or bowls of water, and then they'll go into it. Bowl of soapy water, make sure it's soapy water so that it breaks the surface tension and then they can drown and die. You can make your own flea trap or buy one. So those are my suggestions. Most of those are very inexpensive, and as you can see, all of them were chemical free. And so I really hope that you found this video helpful, and I hope you don't end up with too many fleas. And if you do end up with fleas, I hope that they go away quickly. So thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.